It's mini bike day. Got another big heavy box. FedEx dropped this off yesterday, and we're gonna pack this thing and build it and figure out what's broken. There's some kickstands sticking out the side. There's a bag over here that has nothing in it that's taped to it, so I hope there weren't parts in there. That's pretty awesome. But this is gonna be fantastic. This is literally the cheapest mini bike that you can get right now, and I'm gonna show you what it is here in a second. And then we're gonna build it. We're gonna steal the 79cc off of Jake because we got other plans for Jake. He's going back to electric here pretty soon. And we should be riding this thing in 25-30 minutes.
25-30 minutes.
I hope I don't shoot myself in the foot on that, but I think this is gonna be a pretty easy build. So let's get this thing unboxed, get the table set up, and get to work. Clutch just sitting in the bottom here. This front plate, I don't think that's supposed to be there. We got a broken zip tie. We got the two handles for the box, more broken zip ties. I didn't even know it came with a clutch. They should mention that on the website because I bet most people buy another one. These are the parts that I ordered separately. So this is the throttle bracket, which isn't painted this time. Oh, never mind. The old one's not painted. That's my bad. And then I ordered a chain too, because it wasn't clear if this bike came with a chain or not. So again, mention that it comes with a chain, mention that it comes with a clutch. What concerns me is there should be a bag of bolts. I have one empty bag here, and then another empty bag on the side of the box. And I only see this one nut. Need to get the crate off of this, need to get all the parts unpacked, cut all the zip ties, and see what we're missing. I don't know that it needs hardware. I have never built one of these. In case you don't know what this is a Monster Moto 80 or Mega Moto 80. There's some confusion on the name. I think it's because one of the companies folded and the other company bought it. Mega Moto, Monster Moto. I don't know. I've heard them referred to as both, but you can get these from Go Power Sports right now for like 400 bucks. They're incredibly cheap, and it's actually designed to have a 79cc engine and or the E1000 drivetrain that Jake has in it, which is why I bought this. So it'll actually be what Jake was originally. Plus front suspension, knobby tires, looks pretty cool, and it was really cheap. Cheap's good. So I'm gonna get to unpacking this thing and see what we're missing, and we'll go from there. Great news. The mini bike has been unpacked. Nothing to see there. You just cut a bunch of zip ties and open some stuff. This is not an unboxing video. But on the plus side, there's a bunch of stuff I didn't know. And not being critical, but just offering some advice. The guys at Go Power Sports should definitely update their listing for these bikes. One, it should say it comes with a chain. It'd be nice to mention that it comes with the decals. I just thought that that was a nice little added bonus. I didn't think that it was going to come with the decals. I don't know if I'm going to put them on, but it's nice that it comes with them. The other thing, it doesn't mention that it comes with a clutch. So that was a little wild. So now I have an extra clutch because I already bought a clutch. So whatever, that's not that big a deal. Other than that, there were two empty bags. One was inside the box and one was attached to the box. And I thought that those were supposed to have hardware in them. But I have the handlebar mounts here. I have all the rest of the hardware here, I would assume, except for that one nut that I found laying on the ground. I think that might be an extra. This should be the axle nut and bolt, and this should be the fork nut and bolt.
Like that. Reverse it.
So I'm fairly certain that it came with absolutely everything it's supposed to have, which is great. That's awesome. I don't know what those two empty bags are. It's a little confusing, but whatever, doesn't matter. These rims are really cool. They got like this hub and then the rims actually separate. Some chunky tires. These are pretty cool little bikes. I like them. Nice big foot pegs at a good angle. It's got a kickstand, which Jake doesn't have. It's got a chain tensioner built in, chain guard and all that other stuff. And I don't know if this chain guard's going to work with the gasoline engine, but we're going to find out. So anyways, I'm going to keep putting this thing back together. We should be riding this thing in no time. If you join me for the video where we were building Jake, the Asusa mini bike kit also doesn't come with instructions, nor does this Mega Moto Monster Moto 80 kit. So one of the things you always want to do is arrange all of your fasteners. I mentioned that in the last video. You want to make sure you have logical quantities of stuff. So we have 6 of these screws and we have 6 of these plastic washers. So that tells me that those go together. We have 3 of these short bolts and 3 of these flat washers, 3 of these split washers. Then we have 3 of these long bolts and 3 of these nuts. And you can see this nut will fit that, but it'll also fit that. So I'm not 100% positive where those 3 fasteners go. These 3 fasteners here appear to be the 1, 2, 3 fasteners for the chain guard. So that's good. These screws here, I know hold the fender on. There's 2 on this side, 2 on this side, and then the number plate. And then you have your risers for the handlebars. So I don't actually know what those go to, but the solution will most likely present itself as we're building the bike and figure out, you know, if there's some hardware missing, where it's gonna go. They could also just be extras for like 2 different formats of build. It's hard to say. One thing I really like, so first off, actually, I screwed up. This is the axle. Duh, it's got spacers. That's the head bolt, that's the axle. But one of the things I really like on this kit is that it comes with tools. That's actually really, really handy. Not only can you build the bike with these if you really needed to, they're awful little crappy tools, but they are kind of thick and they are at least labeled, so that's pretty handy. A few other things I really like about this. I obviously really like that it's got front suspension. I like that it's got a sealed bearing headset. This thing turns very easy, which that bike does not because it doesn't have any bearings at all. And the disc brake, that's a really nice touch. I actually really like that. So I'm sure that's going to work a lot better than the garbage drum brakes on this old vintage style mini bike. First impressions, this thing's really cool. Back to building. that's it. This thing's put together. That's really, really easy. Bolt the fender on, bolt the number plate on, you know, do the forks, so on and so forth. Few little gotchas, but not a lot, to be totally honest with you. The axle didn't really want to go in. The bearing wasn't seated all the way in the wheel on the one side, so I had to whack that with a mallet, and then it's still kind of a tight fit, so just, you know, keep that in mind. You do have to kind of pull that apart. Going back, if I was to do it again, I probably would have left all of this sort of loose and then done the front wheel and then tightened it up and made it easier, whatever. The other thing I did, wasn't really paying attention, is I had all the cabling on the outside of the fork, so I had to just pull this off, pull the fork leg out, and then put the cabling on the inside here so that, you know, this would turn and clear. But other than that, very, very simple. It's not even a build as so much as it's an assembly, but, you know, think of it however you want. I will say this. Kind of like a Volkswagen, you're gonna have every single tool in your toolbox out on this thing. It's got 10, 12, 13, 15, 17, 19 Allen's, Phillips head. It doesn't come with, what is this? It doesn't come with the 6 for the forks. It comes with an Allen. I don't know what that goes to, probably something else, but whatever. It wasn't even supposed to come with tools. Oh, it's probably for the brake lever, duh. So tighten that up here in a second. But that's it. This thing's assembled. So I'm going to get it off the bench. I'm going to clean up my tools and reset. And then we're going to put Jake on the bench and rip the engine off of that. It only takes, I'm going to do that in real time actually. I'm going to show you how fast you can get the engine off that bike. And it comes off as an entire assembly. It's pretty awesome. So let's get all that stuff done. This is going to be absolutely great. We're going to be riding this thing in the next 15 minutes. Guaranteed. Awesome. All right, I'm going to pull the motor off in real time here. Phillips head screwdriver to pull the throttle off, cutters to get the zip ties off the other side for the throttle cable, and 13s to pull the engine off, flathead screwdriver to break the chain apart, and then I'm actually going to take the clutch off only because I need to get this guard off, because I do actually want to try and use the guard that comes with it. It just seems like a good idea. So, yeah, let's get the chain off first. $7. Super cool. They just look correct. Done. Not bad. You go over here. So yeah, that's it. That's all it takes. It's 4 bolts, a throttle, couple whatevers. It's super easy. This thing's great. I'm just gonna keep switching this around from mini bike to mini bike. It's like you know, in the 1900s, you bought a John Deere single cylinder and it powered your tractor, it powered the mill, it pumped water, and you just moved the engine around. They still do it in India and stuff. If you've ever watched those videos, it's phenomenal. There's engines that are 100 years old and they have one engine. They use it for everything. But I digress. So without further ado, put that thing back up here, put that engine in it, and I think we'll be riding this thing in no time at all. That doesn't fit on here, like kind of at all. The airbox runs right into the back of the frame here, so I took that off, so it's just got a bare carb. But of a larger concern is it doesn't appear to abide by any normal bolt pattern. So these center holes are the base plate holes for the 80cc, and then these are standard 212, 200cc holes on the outside here. And normally this plate would go on and everything would be all hunky-dory. You can see that while these holes line up, there's no adjustment at all. So the engine would just be here all the time and it wouldn't be adjustable, which is a bummer because this thing's got a cool little party piece, which is actually a tensioner. It's kind of built in so you can pull the motor forward and get your chain tension correct. So bummer there. Then I'd have to slot new holes here. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it just uses the standard 80cc holes. And yeah, kinda. The front ones line up, but the back ones are off like, I don't know, an acre. So I don't know what's supposed to go in these. I don't know if they had their own mounting plate when they did these. I do know that Go Power Sports sells a mounting plate so that you can put a 212 in these. And I don't have that. It's actually in a box on its way to California. But I don't know that that would help because you'd be stacking plates and then it'd be at some weird angle because it's tilted up. So I don't know. And I really don't want to half-ass this. Like, I don't want to just drill a bunch of holes in it and make it work. That was fine for Jake because we knew, you know, what we were doing when we did this. I knew that none of this was going to be right. And so we had to drill holes and that was just kind of part of it. But this is kind of a nice bike and I was really hoping that it would just bolt right together. So yeah, bummer. I just drilled some holes in it. I watched a video on Hoonigan a while back. They were actually, they flew a guy in from Japan to help do the body kit on their K-Truck, if you saw that video. And Dan was having a really hard time cutting up that K-Truck. I don't know why, it's not his. Scotto bought it. So anyways, he's cutting it. And the guy, he doesn't speak very good English, but he kept saying one thing over and over again. He said, cut, cut, cut. And I've mentioned this before when I started hacking up the RS. And here's the thing, if you're making something, it's yours. I want that engine to go in that bike. If I have to drill holes, well then drill the holes. You know, it's ridiculous. It's like, I would not have an all-wheel drive Civic. Yes, it's all-wheel drive. 6-speed shifter out of a Wago van. Rear diff in the back. It's got axle nuts. In case you don't believe me. But that's not the subject of this video. I wouldn't have this car in this condition if I didn't want to cut stuff. And I cut this thing up a long, long time ago. So don't at me about that. You got to drill holes, you got to cut stuff, you got to do whatever. The issue I'm running into now, where we're at, sit rep, is I have the old chain, which is the same length as the new chain, and it's nowhere near where it needs to be to make this work. The clutch is way too far forward, so the chain just needs to be longer. Not a big deal. I actually bought a chain breaker, and since they didn't mention if this kit came with a chain, I bought another chain. I also bought another throttle bracket just because I know that these are getting harder to find. And if you watch my last video when we installed the Predator engine, that's this throttle bracket right here. So I'll link to the video on how to install that there. And then I'll put Go Power Sports has a really good video on how to install that also. Good news, everything's forward, so it looks like the airbox will go back on. So I think I just need to make a chain, move the throttle cable over. I'm actually going to just take this throttle off and then run the, where did it go? This little cat right there. So, because this is neat, but it's kind of a vintage style, and this is more of a dirt bike style, so I think that'll be pretty cool. And then that should be it, and this thing should be up and running. We'll see. Real talk. Set aside a good portion of the afternoon to build one of these. I hope it'd be a lot faster the second time, or if you've watched some videos. I legit just watched one video, And unfortunately, it was the old Mega Moto Monster Moto video where it was a complete bike. So they were just like, yeah, put it together and then you're done. You know, you weren't putting an engine on it or anything. It already came installed. But I'm learning a lot. So rerouted all the cables nice and up and in here and got everything with some zip ties on there. It looks pretty good. So nothing's going to hit the ground if I go over any rocks or jumps or anything like that. Might leave the plastic on the seat, you know, that 1970s grandma's couch style. Just for a little while, that new bike smell. But I'm going to throw the side covers on here. A little chain guard thing. I think that's actually pretty cool. Nice and safe chain guard so I can ride this thing around in flip-flops and baggy jeans. And then that's it. We're riding. So 5 more minutes. This did not take 30 minutes. Full disclosure, it did not. I actually don't even know what time it is. I stopped looking a while ago. It is... It's 1:30. So add a lot to that. It's been 2.5 hours or something like that in real time. I hope you've enjoyed following along. Let's wrap this thing up and get it on the road, on the grass, out and driving. Yeah, let's do that. Success. You will need 17 links of number 35 chain if you're going to put the engine where I put the engine. And again, if you're going to be running a 79cc and you want the airbox to clear. Now, if you're running a 79cc and you have a pod filter on it, well, then you can move it quite a bit further back, drill the holes in a different spot, shorter chain, probably use a chain guard, blah, blah. I really want the stock air intake on this. I've just always wanted this engine to be stock so that it's kind of quiet and it starts really simple. So that's it, it's on, and it should start and idle. Yay! All right, now let's test ride it and see how it does. Oh, one other thing, brake was dragging. You can take these 2 bolts and go in or out with them, and what it does is it actually tilts the caliper so that everything lines up, because this is all just, you know, Chinese welded stuff, so they built some adjustability in here because it's not going to be perfect. So that is one of the things. Probably before you put the chain on, I would set the brake and everything, just make sure that it's not dragging. The only other thing that I do want to mention, checking and filling the rear tire on this thing kind of sucks. The fill is like all the way down in there, and so you gotta just get the right combination of dinguses and doodads and stuff. But small potatoes. Anyways, let's go ride. Oh, come on. I really like these great big bars. These things are great. Pegs are a little funky. Your feet, I don't know. Maybe it's meant for somebody with shorter legs because it's a child's bike. Brakes that work. It's gonna take some getting used to. These pegs are really low to the ground. She's got the revs, but she doesn't have any horsepower. This thing's great. I like the front shocks. All right. that's it. There you have it. Mega Moto 80. Few little gotchas. Just pay attention when you're assembling it. Definitely going to want to order a little bit of chain. Other than that, if you watch the last video, you need the Predator. You need the doodad here for that. And that's pretty much it. This thing is an absolute blast. I love the moto grips. I love the wide bars. The front suspension's really good. I mean, it's front suspension, so it's better than not having it, I should say. The disc brake is phenomenal. That thing's great. These tires are interesting on grass. They're a little slippy, but they're not unmanageable. They're just a little slippy. And when I was saying, I don't know if you heard me, when you're turning, man, the pegs are low to the ground. I mean, they flip up, so you could really lay this thing down and probably not run into an issue, but I was dragging flip-flop. Again, it's a child's bike. It is not meant for an adult to be riding it. But what fun would it be if as an adult you can't buy kids toys and ride them around, because this thing is an absolute blast and it's cheap fun. You can get the engine for about $100. You can get the chassis for about $400. There's obviously shipping and some other stuff in there. You know, figure you're gonna be in the $600 to $800 range plus whatever it costs in tools and time and materials and stuff if you're having somebody put it together for you. But all in all, this is really cheap fun. Definitely go out and pick one of these up. And that is gonna be it for this episode. Thank you so much for hanging out. It was really fun to see something that I thought was going to be really simple and not take a long time was actually a little bit tricky in a few spots. And that's the kind of stuff that trips people up, and then you don't finish the project, and it's just, you know, life. It's just how it is. But anyways, that's going to be it for this episode. Thanks so much for hanging out.